A lot of us don't realize when we live a white collar existence how fragile in today's America that existence is for most of us. How it takes a couple missteps here and there, and pretty soon we're living a very different kind of life. And that roughly was Joe's story. Joe Williams he's currently interim communications director for a nonprofit group on Capitol Hill. But before that, he spent some time, as he will tell us, as a sales associate in a sporting goods store in suburban Maryland. But he had been a writer for Politico, a reporter covering the White House, Obama administration cabinet, and domestic policies. And he'd been with a number of papers before that. Great background. And one series of missteps changed everything for Joe. And he wrote about that recently for The Atlantic. Joseph Williams, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. Now, you wrote a great piece where you explained that you said something wrong. You were, I believe, a regular contributor to MSNBC. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Basically, during the 2012 election, I was asked to go on camera and talk, representing Politico, and talk about Mitt Romney and kind of the difficulties he's been having at that time, reaching out to minorities. And part of the reason why they asked me that is because Mitt was going to appear before the National Council of La Raza, and it was his first kind of big speaking engagement in front of a minority audience. And, beg your pardon, towards the end of that interview, I just mentioned, mindful of some of the things that I'd seen when Romney was running for governor and I was living in Massachusetts. He really seemed awkward around people who were of color, people who didn't seem like him. And I said, and I'm not sure why this is, but I said, I think the phrase white folks just really touched a nerve with conservatives, and they just went ballistic on it. They scraped my Twitter account. They went all through my background, find some really interesting and, things that I hadn't even thought about because they were just kind of mindless, and I thought no one would ever see it because I was just some person, a random reporter. And that led to Politico suspending me, and then I later had a separation agreement with them out on the street, as it were, looking for new work.
Now, they suspended you. I'm trying to, your actual quote was Romney is very comfortable with people who are like him, but when he comes on Fox and Friends, they're like him. They're white folks who are very much relaxed in their own company. Now, it seems to me, look, that doesn't seem that extreme to me. I mean, it seems to me, as you say, maybe the choice of white folks is as words upset them, but I'm not really. This created a firestorm. I mean, this was huge, and I'm not sure why. And I'm not sure why Politico suspended you. Did they tell you?
They mentioned we had a meeting that afternoon, that evening rather, and in that meeting they talked about how it was not only that, but it was about how conservatives had just basically gone through my entire background and found some things that Politico found distasteful. And in addition to that, the right wing is very expert at whipping up a frenzy. The one thing that progressives and the left don't do all that well is the way the right wing controls the message. They will focus, they will dive in deep, and whatever it takes, they will do to make sure that they get heard, and that's part of the problem. So in essence, it was not just what I said, but it was a reaction to what I said, and Politico was quite uncomfortable with that kind of scrutiny, particularly from people that they had to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So even beyond that, the Romney campaign complained in person. They had somebody call John Harris, the editor. They would never tell me who that person was, but whoever it was had enough influence to urge John Harris that this was a problem that needed to be taken care of.